The founder of Precious Moments is dead. Sam Butcher started the company in 1978 based out of Carthage, Missouri, selling iconic porcelain figures as well as other gift items. In a post on the company's Facebook page, they say Butcher passed early this morning surrounded by loved ones. Sam Butcher was 85. Authorities in Jasper County respond to reports of a car crashing into a creek. The call came in just before 8 this morning. Troopers say a westbound driver on Baseline Boulevard overcorrected and drove off the left side of the road into the Slater Branch Creek, taking out a sign and slamming into a tree. The driver of the vehicle refused medical treatment, though was later taken to a local hospital with minor injuries. And crews battle a blaze on board a train engine early Sunday morning. The call came in just after 2:45 to Cherokee County authorities. Columbus Fire Rescue joined the effort, assisting rail staff to avoid the spread of fire to the rest of the unit. No injuries were reported. Representatives from the Cherokee County Health Department assisted residents today with information about CanCare and Medicaid. The goal for the event at the Galena City Hall was to answer questions and get eligible residents signed up for benefits.
Well, if you're not sure if you're eligible for it, you could do presumptive eligibility, which takes 10 minutes opposed to maybe a couple of hours on the written application. Presumptive, you're just basically putting through a small application to get approved for that day and for 30 days until they've decided yes or no for sure.
Future events will take place each Monday of the month with locations set up in Baxter Springs, Galena, and Weir. Coming up, as parents prepare for the summer phrase, "I'm bored," we're going to look into the health benefits of boredom. The CDC is out with new guidance to prevent the spread of infections in school. The agency recommends teaching proper hand washing and respiratory etiquette, improving ventilation, cleaning and sanitizing when appropriate, and promoting vaccination for students and staff. If there's an elevated amount of illness, schools can also consider masking, testing, and social distancing. Well, it's a common feeling, and it is unavoidable. Boredom can creep up on all of us, especially children who are still learning how to temper it. But experts say being bored isn't bad. Mandy Gaither has more on the benefits of boredom.
It can be a struggle keeping kids entertained.
A lot of people have really started to fear boredom and think it's something to avoid at all costs.
Jody Baumstein with Children's Healthcare of Atlanta's Strong for Life program says instead of dodging boredom, embrace it.
Our job is not to fix it and protect kids from ever feeling bored, because that is something they're going to experience not just now, but well into adulthood.
Baumstein says the first benefit of boredom is that children can learn how to problem solve.
At first, they might be feeling bored and even frustrated, but as they work through that, they're tolerating discomfort and they're learning what to do with their feelings and what they can do to make themselves feel better.
Learning to manage emotions is another upside to boredom, and it can also get kids outside, being physically active, or maybe even tap into their creativity.
They might make up an obstacle course or go for a bike ride or play basketball.
Finally, Baumstein says boredom helps kids learn to be independent, and parents can help by talking them through it.
I'm curious if you just let your mind wander what you'll come up with. I'm really excited to see. And you're showing them that they can figure this out. It's not something to be scared of.
For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
Baumstein says parents can also help their kids by telling them what they do when they're bored, but she says to avoid telling them how to alleviate boredom. I wish I knew what boredom was like. Well, Lindsay is next with a complete look at your forecast. And later, the Diamond Missouri softball team looks to earn a ticket to the state championship as they take on Willow Springs. We'll have the highlights.
Overall, today was a pretty nice day, warm up to the upper to mid 80s across the region. But let's take a look outside. Earlier was a nice day, few clouds overall, pretty nice. We don't have any rain going on tonight. Up north in Kansas City had some rain a little bit earlier, but we stay dry, and we're going to continue that trend until tomorrow afternoon. We've got some severe weather moving through earlier in the afternoon, and then we've got a second round a little bit later in the overnight hours. So we've got a slight risk for most of our counties, southern Missouri counties, most of the counties in Kansas, and all the counties in Oklahoma and Arkansas as well. So that's just a level 2 out of 5. Now there is an elevated risk just clipping our northern counties. Nevada is in a level 3 out of 5 risk. Now there is a slight chance as well that when we get a little closer to this event, we start to see how the storms are firing up. The elevated risk could start to stretch down, maybe including Pittsburgh, maybe even Joplin. So we'll keep an eye on that. But right now, we're really only in a level 2 out of 5 threat for severe weather tomorrow. Timing would be about 4 p.m. to 3 a.m. Like I said, we've got 2 rounds of rain moving through, so it's going to prolong the severe weather event. Now, main threats, hail up to golf ball size, about 2 inches. Strong winds up to 70, maybe 75 miles per hour. So these are damaging strong winds, and that's going to be the main threat. There's the wind damage. And we also can't rule out a tornado as well, tornado or 2. So taking a look at the future track, like I said, today we stayed dry. Got some clouds moving in earlier in the afternoon on Tuesday, and a few showers pushed through earlier in the afternoon. So it's about 4 p.m. Not a severe threat with any of these showers, but if you go outside earlier in the afternoon, you start to see some rain. That's not the threat yet. That comes a little bit later. Right along the frontal boundary, you can see where the winds shift from the south and from the northwest. This is about 6 p.m. Some storms develop right along that line. Now, the cold front boundary is stagnant. It's just going to sit there, but these storms are going to continue to move, and as they do, they get a little too far away from the cold front, so they're going to fall apart and reform back along the frontal boundary. So this is what happens. It's about 8 p.m. That first line of storms pushing a little too far away from the cold front, so then the second line starts to form. Now this is coming through in the later evening hours. That'll pass through Joplin around 9-10 p.m. and it'll continue on strong to severe thunderstorms. As that pushes out, about midnight, 1 a.m., we start to see the main threat of severe weather for Tuesday has gone. We've got a few showers still sticking around in the early morning hours on Wednesday. Unfortunately, the cold front retreats in about 6 a.m. on Wednesday, and then we have more storms form on that line. Now, good thing is with those storms, it's just going to be some wind damage, maybe some localized flooding as well. And we do have an alert day set for Tuesday, and not to mention the scattered thunderstorm chances continue all the way through Saturday.
We'll keep our eye on that for sure. Thanks, Lindsay. Well, the next stop on the Great American Flag Swap 2024 takes place tomorrow at Jake's Fireworks in Pittsburgh at noon before the rain moves in. Now, people can bring in their old tattered flags to be replaced with brand new ones, courtesy of KOAM and Fox 14. The old flags will receive a proper disposal. The event always serves as a great way to give something to the community and support veterans. Coming up, a hotel on wheels.
What with the cost of airplane flights and hotels, a lot of people deciding to make their own way across the USA this summer. I'm Jeff Locke in Mokina, Illinois. I'll have the story when we come back.
Red Lobster has filed for bankruptcy. The largest seafood restaurant chain in the world says it had to settle more than $1 billion in debt. The company plans to sell its business to its lenders. In turn, Red Lobster will receive financing to stay afloat. But more restaurants will be closing. Analysts and former employees say recent mismanagement, competition, inflation, and other factors ran the company to the ground. Millions of Americans are hitting the road this Memorial Day weekend. The best bang for your buck could be traveling by RV. Fox Business correspondent Jeff Locke is in Illinois breaking down the best deals.
We are on the road again this summer, and a lot of people are doing it in an RV. A lot of people. In the last few years, RV sales have been tremendous. Take a look at the numbers, almost double-digit increases last year. And Bill Holskethen of Terry's RV in Frankfort, Illinois, you said the last 2-3 years, best you've ever seen?
Yeah, best I've ever seen in 30 years of being in the business. It's, I think it started with COVID, and it's just been unbelievable business.
Yeah, and a lot of those people, though, have gotten into RVs, but have said, maybe I'm not an RVer. And so now they're coming back on the market, and you expect this year's sales are going to be tight, right?
Yeah, this year there'll be a lot to choose from, I think, on the RV lots.
Which means maybe prices come down, yes?
Yeah, good pricing.
And for an RV like this, take a look. This one may be under $100,000, you think, yeah?
Yes, yeah, right under $100,000 for this.
You've got showers, you've got bathroom, you've got queen size bed, all that stuff, yeah?
Yeah, you got everything. You have a bedroom, for the husband and wife. You have the sofa and dinettes make beds.
So if you rent one of these, you rent them for maybe a couple $100 a night.
Yeah, $200, $250 a night.
When you figure, and by the way, maybe take a look out. If Dutch, before we get away, can you take a look outside, just show folks what it looks like? That's cheaper than a hotel. I mean, that's the cost of a hotel.
Yeah.
Plus, you got your vehicle. You have to fly somewhere. You can just drive there.
And it's a great experience for families.
Yeah. And you can get up, walk around.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool. RVs, yeah. And you've been in the business a long time. Used to be RVs were kind of a cheap way to go.
Yeah.
Well, now this is like luxury 5-star hotel, only it's on your back. Goes with you. That's the latest. We're in Frankfort, Illinois. I'm Jeff Locke with the Fox Business Network.
Up next, we'll meet the man who broke the record for the oldest person in space. A 90-year-old has become the oldest man to go into space. Ed Dwight was a top Air Force test pilot and trained to become NASA's first black astronaut 60 years ago, but was denied the chance back then. Yesterday, Dwight finally accomplished his mission aboard Blue Origin's New Shepard rocket.
And here's a grand opportunity at this late date to fulfill that for self-satisfaction, yes, but more importantly, to satisfy all the wonderful people that have showered me with love for all these years.
The 90-year-old ended up in a far different career, first as a businessman and then an artist, sculpting nearly 20,000 pieces. And when it comes to space, he says he's not finished just yet. He wants to go into orbit next time. And then he'll break another record, of course. 30 more minutes of news, weather, and sports is coming your way. The Joplin Public Library receives a new statue to replace one that was stolen last year. Plus, a donation of plants helps finalize a garden dedicated to a Carl Junction educator.
You're watching the 4 states' most watched news.
This is KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14. I'm Tanya Bach. Libraries are known for letting the public borrow many things, but not their outside statues. KOAM's Samantha Walker has more on how the community is celebrating the replacement of a beloved statue at the Joplin Public Library.
It's so rare that anything, on the public library property would be messed with or damaged or taken, and so I was very disbelieving. I couldn't believe that had even happened, and then I had a lot of questions about why, what could they even do with it?
Shock. That's the feeling many community members have had after a popular statue at the Joplin Public Library was stolen nearly 1 year ago.
When the statue went missing last year, I was very sad.
Although a suspect has been identified and is awaiting trial for the theft, the statue has never been recovered. The work, titled 2 Kids on Bench, was a donation from the Kiwanis Club of Joplin. Library staff say the structure is well loved by the community.
I was kind of speechless whenever the community, the outpouring of love and just messaging from the community came about. So I know people really like that bench. I would see them interacting with it and their kids taking photos with it every day.
And it was that community reaction that drove the Kiwanis Club and other community donors to figure out a way to replace the bench.
The Joplin Kiwanis Club is all about serving the children of our Joplin area, and we felt that this statue represents the benefit of the Joplin Library for the children of the area.
And the generosity has not gone unnoticed by even the youngest of library patrons.
Thanks to the community of putting the statue back. Because you brought the statue back, and kids will be probably filled with joy.
And she has a warning for any thieves thinking about trying to take the new statue.
Well, I would say put it back where it belongs. If I don't, let's get rough.
Reporting in Joplin, Samantha Walker, KOAM News.
And nobody wants to get rough. The Kiwanis Club of Joplin is also donating insurance to help protect the new replacement statue. Great idea. A donation is giving a special garden in Carl Junction new life. Mindy Doyle graduated from Carl Junction High School in 1997 and then spent 13 years working for the school's special education department. She passed away from cancer last May. The school established a garden in her honor, and today Southern Star Gas Pipeline donated $1,000 worth of plants in her memory.
We sometimes ask them because there's a lot of people that knew her, and they'll say things like, "Oh, she always made me happy," or "She was somebody I could always talk to," and so we say this is to help to honor her, and they just smile and they love it.
Last year, the school named Mindy Support Staff Member of the Year. Former President Trump returned to Manhattan for his 19th day in court today as his criminal trial continues into a 6th week. Now, Trump is facing felony charges related to a 2016 hush money payment to adult film actress Stormy Daniels. Fox's Connor Hansen is in New York with the latest on the trial.
Today marked the 4th day of testimony from Michael Cohen, Trump's former attorney and so-called fixer, another tense round of cross-examination.
Michael Cohen, the prosecution's star witness, returning to the witness stand, facing more cross-examination from former President Donald Trump's legal team. Defense lawyer Todd Blanche digging into Cohen's credibility, eliciting testimony from Cohen that he stole from the Trump organization, including paying $20,000 to a tech company that had done online polls for the Trump campaign, but requesting reimbursement for $50,000 and pocketing the difference.
You can't prove guilt beyond a reasonable doubt based on a witness like this.
Blanche also asked Cohen if he had a financial stake in the outcome of the trial. Cohen responded yes, noting he makes money on his podcast and TikTok account. But when pressed about whether a conviction would personally and financially benefit Cohen, the former attorney answered no, saying, quote, "It's better if he's not for me because it gives me more to talk about in the future." Outside the courthouse, Trump, who is prohibited from talking about the witnesses or jurors, took aim at the trial and the judge.
I'm here instead of campaigning. As you know, I was supposed to be in a very different state this morning.
Judge Juan Merchan says the trial will continue into next week and told attorneys on both sides to prepare to start their closing arguments next Tuesday after Memorial Day. In New York, Connor Hansen, Fox News.
Iranian state media have confirmed the deaths of that country's president and foreign minister in a helicopter crash. Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah, quickly named their vice president as the interim president, and he held his first cabinet meeting. At least one Iranian official blamed the U.S. for the crash, saying sanctions prevent Iran from buying replacement parts for their fleet of American-made helicopters. A bit later, we live in a tech-filled world, so we'll have some tips to help you be mindful of others while on your devices.
Overall, today was a pretty nice day, warm up to the upper to mid 80s across the region. But let's take a look outside. Earlier was a nice day, few clouds. Overall, pretty nice. We don't have any rain going on tonight. Up north in Kansas City, had some rain a little bit earlier, but we stayed dry, and we're going to continue that trend until tomorrow afternoon. We've got some severe weather moving through earlier in the afternoon, and then we've got a second round a little bit later in the overnight hours. So we've got a slight risk for most of our counties, southern Missouri counties, most of the counties in Kansas, and all the counties in Oklahoma and Arkansas as well. So that's just a level 2 out of 5. Now there is an elevated risk just clipping our northern counties. Nevada is in a level 3 out of 5 risk. Now there is a slight chance as well that when we get a little closer to this event, we start to see how the storms are firing up. The elevated risk could start to stretch down, maybe including Pittsburgh, maybe even Joplin. So we'll keep an eye on that. But right now, we're really only in a level 2 out of 5 threat for severe weather tomorrow. Timing would be about 4 p.m. to 3 a.m. Like I said, we've got 2 rounds of rain moving through, so it's going to prolong the severe weather event. Now, main threats, hail up to golf ball size, so about 2 inches. Strong winds up to 70, maybe 75 miles per hour. So these are damaging strong winds, and that's going to be the main threat. There's the wind damage. And we also can't rule out a tornado as well, tornado or 2. So taking a look at the future track, like I said, today we stayed dry. Got some clouds moving in earlier in the afternoon on Tuesday, and a few showers pushed through earlier in the afternoon. So it's about 4 p.m. Not a severe threat with any of these showers, but if you go outside earlier in the afternoon, you start to see some rain. That's not the threat yet. That comes a little bit later. Right along the frontal boundary, you can see where the winds shift from the south and from the northwest. This is about 6 p.m. Some storms develop right along that line. Now, the cold front boundary is stagnant. It's just going to sit there, but these storms are going to continue to move, and as they do, they get a little too far away from the cold front, so they're going to fall apart and reform back along the frontal boundary. So this is what happens. It's about 8 p.m. That first line of storms pushing a little too far away from the cold front, so then the second line starts to form. Now this is coming through in the later evening hours. That'll pass through Joplin around 9-10 p.m. and it'll continue on, strong to severe thunderstorms. As that pushes out, about midnight, 1 a.m., we start to see the main threat of severe weather for Tuesday has gone. We've got a few showers still sticking around in the early morning hours on Wednesday. Unfortunately, the cold front retreats in about 6 a.m. on Wednesday, and then we have more storms form on that line. Now, good thing is with those storms, it's just going to be some wind damage, maybe some localized flooding as well. And we do have an alert day set for Tuesday, and not to mention the scattered thunderstorm chances continue all the way through Saturday.
All right, we'll definitely keep our eye on that. Thank you so much, Lindsay. For the second spring in a row, Canada is battling several large wildfires, and some of that smoke is once again drifting south. The smoke, which contains harmful pollutants, is lowering the air quality in parts of the U.S. While it's still nowhere near the dangerous level seen last summer, health experts say we can now expect this regularly because of climate change.
Having increased rates of bronchitis and asthma, wheezing, having itchy, irritated eyes, but also your lungs are the conduit between the air outside and your bloodstream. And so those particles get into your bloodstream and they can cause heart attacks, they can cause strokes, they can, in the long run, cause increased risks of lung cancer. And so there's a lot of risks to having all of the smoke in the air.
A study from the journal Nature out last fall found globally more than 2 billion people are exposed to at least one day of wildfire smoke each year. That's nearly 7% increase in the last decade. Coming up in sports, Diamond High School softball tries to advance to the state title game. Plus, Carl Junction and Webb City baseball square off in the district championship. John Dales has those stories and more up next.
Diamond High School softball has been one of the top teams in Class 2 all season. Now is the time to really prove that. The Wildcats are one of the last 4 teams standing at the Missouri Softball Championship site in Springfield. All roads lead to this, the Class 2 Final Four in Springfield. 36-1 Diamond faces 24-6 Willow Springs. Wildcats score the first run of the game in the first inning. Lauren Turner drives in Caitlin Surrey on an RBI single. Diamond trails 3-2, but not for long. In the 5th, Sarah Roselle smashes this over the left fielder's head. 2 runs will score. Wildcats lead 4-3, and they're far from finished. Caitlin Surrey comes up later in the inning and skies one to left as well. That also drops. It's now 7-3, Diamond in front. We're still in the bottom of the 5th inning when Taylon Reeder hits a line drive into left field, moving the line again. Turner scores. It's a 9-3 Wildcat lead, and the Wildcats just keep bringing batters to the plate. Cabry Parmley gets the final RBI of a 10-run 5th inning. Diamond beats Willow Springs 13-3 in the Class 2 semifinals. The Wildcats will play in the state championship game tomorrow morning. Their opponent in the title game is Kennett, who had nearly as good of a win in the semifinal this afternoon. The Indians beat Lone Jack 11-4. They have a record of 25-8. Meanwhile, Diamond tries to finish its season without a loss to any Missouri teams. First pitch is scheduled tomorrow for 11 a.m. And as the academic year concludes, so too does Carl Junction's time in the Central Ozark Conference. Beginning next year, the Bulldogs will play in the Ozark Mountain Conference, and tonight, the Bulldog baseball team has one last COC rivalry game. It's Webb City against Carl Junction in the Class 5 District 7 title game. Cardinals already up 2-0 in the third inning. Andrew Young hits a fly ball to center field. That gets over the center fielder's head. It rolls all the way to the wall. He legs out a triple and would score later in the inning on a sacrifice fly. Luke Beverlin on the mound for Webb City and cruising. This is one of 4 strikeouts on the day for him. But in the final inning, Beverlin runs into trouble. This single puts runners on second and first with the score 3-1. So Webb City goes with a pitching change. Out comes Beverlin and in comes Brett Korth. Needing 2 outs for the win, well, Korth gets a fly ball into center field. It's caught out there, and the Cardinals double up the runner at second. That ends it. Webb City wins the district championship for the 3rd year in a row. Cardinals advance to the state quarterfinals.
I knew that he was going to get it done. I had 100% confidence in him. He's been our guy all year. He closes games, and that's just what he does.
I thought it was in the gap, but I looked back, saw Andrew behind it, so it was good. And I looked over, dude was running at third, so it was all going great.
So today, just the start of a very busy week for high school softball and baseball playoffs, and one of the big games of the week tomorrow morning, Diamond softball playing for a state championship.
Well, and you're saying undefeated to Missouri teams.
Yeah.
That is impressive.
It is really impressive.
Well, good luck to both of them. Well, back with more news after this. Communication experts say there's many etiquette tips people should be reminded of when it comes to technology usage in our public and private lives. Fox News' Sue Guzman takes a closer look at how you can avoid being a menace to society when on your devices.
Most people don't like coming across as rude, but in the digital world where it seems like everyone's faces are glued to a screen, communication experts say it's not a bad idea to have a refresher on technology etiquette, especially when you're out in public.
It's become much more acceptable for individuals to document our lives, through photos, through social media. But you need to be wary of who else is in those photos because you don't really have permission, to get the people walking down the street.
Sheila Cotton of Clemson University says you should also be aware of the types of conversations you're having on the phone.
Do you really want people sitting beside you on the subway to know about your work stress that you're experiencing or a frustration that you have with your significant other?
The same can be said about listening to music or watching videos without headphones. Meanwhile, when it comes to polite technology use around friends and family,
we have found that when you're engaging in interaction with other people, if the other person is on their device and not paying attention and not present in that interaction, that it can be distressing for the other individual. And particularly for older adults, when their children and grandchildren come over to visit, if the kids are on their devices constantly and not interacting with the grandparents.
Unless the person you're interacting with is also on their phone.
Be present in your interactions. Save your device time for later.
Sue Guzman, Fox News.
Well, coming up, we'll get a preview of one of the year's most anticipated movies, Furiosa, a Mad Max saga. Furiosa, a Mad Max saga, unleashes the high-octane, post-apocalyptic madness in theaters this weekend. The film is George Miller's new tale in the Mad Max universe, starring Anna Taylor-Joy and Chris Hemsworth. The duo talked to us about stepping into their epic roles and the survival skills they learned while filming. Here's Fox's Ashley Dvorkin with the story.
I'm Furiosa!
The darkest of angels.
Anya Taylor-Joy transforms into a post-apocalyptic heroine in Furiosa, a Mad Max saga. The prequel is the 5th in the movie franchise. It tells the origin story of the iconic Furiosa, originally played by Charlize Theron in 2015's Mad Max Fury Road.
Promise you'll find your way home.
I think she's one of my favorite characters I've ever seen on screen, and that was before I ever knew that I'd have the opportunity to play her in any capacity. So then to take that one step further and get to spend so much time in her head and develop this like intense love for her, she's magic to me completely. Remember me.
Taylor-Joy faces off with co-star Chris Hemsworth's wasteland warlord Dementus. The Thor star enjoyed stepping away from heroic roles to play the main villain.
You want something that is a departure from what you've done previously, and whether it's the same character, you know, between Thor, but this was the biggest leap I was able to have, you know, to do something that had such a physical transformation, but then I was able to sort of, you know, play with the sort of tonality and the vocal quality and the physicality and the movement and so on was just such a joy.
Both actors learned valuable skills to survive the Mad Max universe.
The driving would be useful. The type of driving I learned how to do would be very useful in that setting.
Certain type of resilience that's needed in the wasteland.
Yeah.
You know, it's day-to-day survival, and I think from our characters we've learnt, and hopefully some of that has rubbed off on us.
This is our destiny.
In Hollywood, Ashley Dvorkin, Fox News.
It's a great series. And that's our time for tonight. Thanks for joining us. We're going to leave you with video of baby Nalias at a zoo in Australia. Have a great night and an even better tomorrow.